First Contact Paradox. The Valdorian Federation's survey vessel, Eternal Seeker, hovered at the edge of the Sol system, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to what the crew considered primitive human detection systems. Commander Nix Terra, a tall, six-limbed being with iridescent scales and compound eyes that reflected the starlight, studied the holographic projection of Earth with curiosity and dismissal. Such a peculiar species, she remarked to her second-in-command, Krell. Their technological advancement curve is remarkably inconsistent. They've barely established a permanent presence beyond their atmosphere, yet they've developed quantum computing. Krell, whose slender frame housed one of the most analytical minds in the Federation, nodded in agreement. The Evaluation Council gives them another century before they're worthy of contact. Their societal structure remains fractured, tribal. They still wage war over resources and beliefs. The Valdorians had monitored Earth for over 3 centuries, cataloging human development with detached scientific interest. The Federation's protocol was clear. Species must achieve certain benchmarks before being welcomed into the galactic community. Self-sustainability beyond their home planet, unified planetary governance, mastery of clean energy. The humans had achieved none of these prerequisites. Admiral Zextrol is arriving tomorrow to lead the extended observation mission, Commander Nix Terra said, dismissing the hologram. Prepare the data archives for transfer. But the next morning brought something no Valdorian had anticipated. Commander, the sensor technician's voice carried an unfamiliar edge. Alarm. We're being scanned. Impossible. Check for system malfunctions. It's not a malfunction. The humans, they are using a focused tachyon array. They're looking directly at us. The bridge fell silent. Tachyon detection technology was centuries beyond what humans should possess. Before Commander Nix Terra could respond, a transmission pierced their communication system, bypassing encryption protocols that had never been breached. Unidentified vessel in lunar orbit, came the message in clear, universal standard language. Another impossibility. This is Earth Defense Command. We have tracked your presence for the past 72 hours. Please identify yourself and state your intentions. When Admiral Zextrol arrived hours later, the situation had deteriorated further. 3 Earth vessels, crewed by Valdorian standards, but surprisingly agile, had positioned themselves around the Eternal Seeker, their weapons systems active. How did they detect us? The Admiral demanded, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming with agitation. We don't know, sir. Their technology shouldn't be capable of it. And yet, here we are, Zextrol said. The Admiral made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Disengage cloaking. Open communications. The first face-to-face meeting between humans and Valdorians took place aboard the Eternal Seeker. The human delegation, 5 individuals of varying ethnicities and genders, showed neither fear nor awe as they stepped onto the alien vessel. They simply looked curious. I am Admiral Zextrol of the Valdorian Federation. The Admiral began. We come in peace to observe. The leader of the human delegation, a woman with dark skin and eyes that seemed to evaluate everything at once, stepped forward. I am Director Imani Chen of Earth Defense Command. You've been observing us for quite some time, Admiral. We've been aware of your presence for years. Impossible, Krell interjected. Our cloaking technology uses a phase shift variance in the quantum field. Director Chen finished for him. Yes, we detected the distortion patterns 3 years ago. We've been watching you watch us. What followed was a revelation that shook the foundations of Valdorian understanding. The humans hadn't achieved the benchmarks the Federation considered essential because they'd taken entirely different paths. Instead of unified planetary governance, they'd developed a complex system of international cooperation that preserved cultural diversity while enabling global action when needed. Rather than colonizing other planets, they'd created self-sustaining habitats on Earth that could function in any environment. But your energy crisis, Commander Nix Terra began, was solved last year. Another human delegate, Dr. Kazuo Takahashi explained, "We developed atmospheric extraction technology that harvests energy from thermal differentials. It's not as elegant as your fusion systems, but it's sustainable and adaptable." As the meeting progressed, the Valdorians found themselves increasingly disoriented. The humans asked questions about Valdorian culture, not just their technology. They offered information freely, without the cautious bargaining the Federation expected from newly contacted species. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to have intuited the existence of the galactic community without being told. "How many other species are out there?" asked Director Chen. "And how many of them have been watching us too?" Before Admiral Zex Troll could formulate a diplomatic non-answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. Senior Engineer Lith rushed onto the bridge, his exoskeleton vibrating with urgency. "Admiral, we have a critical failure in the quantum stabilization core. The containment field is collapsing." The implications were immediately clear to everyone on the bridge. If the quantum core destabilized, the resulting explosion would destroy not only the Eternal Seeker, but cause catastrophic damage to Earth's moon, and potentially the planet itself. "Evacuation protocols," ordered Zextral. "All personnel to escape vessels." "There's no time," Lith said, displaying the deterioration curve on a holographic display. "We have 17 minutes until critical failure." The human delegates exchanged glances. Dr. Takahashi stepped forward. "May I see the containment system?" Admiral Zextral hesitated only briefly before nodding. In a crisis of this magnitude, protocol became secondary to survival. What happened next defied all Valdorian expectations. Dr. Takahashi studied the quantum core for less than 2 minutes before turning to his colleagues. They engaged in rapid conversation, frequently interrupting each other, building on each other's ideas in a chaotic yet strangely efficient manner that the Valdorians found difficult to follow. "We need to invert the field polarity," Dr. Takahashi finally said, turning to Engineer Lith, "and introduce a cascading harmonic to counteract the destabilization wave." "That's not possible," Lith objected. "The system isn't designed to." "We don't need to use the system as designed," interrupted another human delegate, a young man with quick hands and quicker eyes. "We need to repropose it." What followed was 10 minutes of frantic, improvised engineering that violated at least 12 fundamental principles of Valdorian scientific doctrine. The humans worked with an intuitive understanding of the alien technology that should have been beyond them, adapting and reimagining systems they had never seen before today. With 27 seconds remaining before critical failure, Dr. Takahashi made a final adjustment. The destabilization curve flattened, then began to reverse. "It worked," Engineer Lith said, disbelief evident in his voice. "But it shouldn't have worked." The approach was completely unorthodox. "Sometimes," Director Chen said with a slight smile, "unorthodox is exactly what you need." Later, in his private quarters, Admiral Zextral recorded his report to the Federation Council. "The humans do not conform to our understanding of technological progression. They develop in leaps and intuitive jumps rather than the methodical advancement we expect. Their social structures prioritize diversity over unity, yet they can cooperate effectively in crisis. Most significantly, they possess a creativity in problem solving that our predictive models fail to anticipate." He paused, considering his next words carefully. "I recommend immediate reclassification of humanity and accelerated integration protocols. The humans we expected to find do not exist. The humans we found instead may be far more valuable to the Federation than we could have imagined." As the Eternal Seeker prepared to return to Valdorian space, a communication came from Earth. It was simple, direct, and captured the essence of what made humans unique among all species the Federation had encountered. "Next time," Director Chen's message read, "just knock on the front door. We'll put on some coffee." The Admiral didn't understand the reference, but he understood the sentiment. And for the first time in his long career, he found himself looking forward to being surprised. "I'll continue with Part 2 of your HFY Sci-Fi story as requested." Part 2. The turning tide. The grand chamber of the Valdorian High Council hummed with tense energy as Admiral Zextrol concluded his presentation. Holographic images of Earth and its inhabitants rotated slowly above the central dais, casting blue light across the concerned faces of the 12 council members. So these humans detected our advanced cloaking technology, neutralized a quantum core destabilization that our own engineers couldn't solve, and now they're requesting formal diplomatic relations. Grand Counselor Vexa summarized, her luminous eyes narrowing. This violates every protocol we've established for emerging species. With respect, Counselor, Admiral Zextrol replied, humans have proven they don't follow our established developmental patterns. They've achieved through lateral thinking what other species accomplish through linear progression. The chamber erupted into overlapping voices, each counselor expressing concerns or fascination. In 3,000 cycles of Valdorian exploration, no species had ever been fast-tracked for diplomatic recognition before achieving unified planetary governance. Silence. Commanded High Elder Rix, the eldest council member. When the chamber quieted, he fixed his gaze on the Admiral. What you propose is unprecedented. You wish us to recognize a fractured species, one that still resolves differences through conflict, as equals in the galactic community. I propose we recognize them for what they are, different, not inferior, Zextrol answered. Their diversity breeds innovation. Their competitive nature drives advancement. They solve problems by approaching them from angles we wouldn't consider. Before the council could respond, an urgent communication interrupted the proceedings. Commander Nixtera's face appeared on the main projection, her expression grave. Forgive the interruption, counselors, but we've detected a Krelax battle fleet entering the Sol system. 12 dreadnoughts and supporting vessels. They've bypassed the outer monitoring stations using technology we've never seen before. The chamber fell silent. The Krelax, a predatory, expansionist species from the galactic rim, had been a growing concern for centuries. Unlike the Valdorians, who valued knowledge and peaceful exploration, the Krelax conquered and subjugated, stripping worlds of resources and reducing indigenous populations to servitude. How did they discover Earth? Counselor Vexa demanded. This system wasn't in any shared database. Unknown, Commander Nixtera replied. But they're on an intercept course. Estimated time to Earth orbit: 14 hours. High Elder Rix turned to Admiral Zextrol. Your new human friends are about to face extinction. The Krelax don't negotiate with species they consider inferior, and they consider everyone inferior. We must warn them, the Admiral said. That would violate our non-interference directive. Counselor Zevin, the most conservative member, objected. If they cannot defend themselves, perhaps they are not ready for the realities of galactic politics. Admiral Zextrol straightened, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. With respect, Counselor, I've already dispatched a warning, and I request permission to deploy the 7th Fleet to the Sol system. Outrage erupted again, but High Elder Rix raised a hand for silence. You've exceeded your authority, Admiral, but the message is sent, and we must now decide our course. The question before this council is clear. Do we stand with humanity against the Krelax, or do we observe their extinction from a safe distance? The debate raged for hours while, across the galaxy, humanity received its first warning of extraterrestrial hostility. On Earth, Director Imani Chen stood before the hastily assembled Global Defense Council, representatives from every major nation, gathered either in person or via secure holographic link. The Valdorian warning was specific, she explained, displaying the Krelax fleet formation. These are warships with technology far beyond our current capabilities. Their intentions are clear: conquest, resource extraction, and either enslavement or extermination of our population. What defense options do we have? Asked the representative from the European coalition. Limited, Chen admitted. Our space-based weapons platforms weren't designed for this level of threat. Ground defenses will be ineffective once they establish orbital superiority. Dr. Kazuo Takahashi, now serving as special advisor for extraterrestrial technology, activated a different hologram. But we have something they don't expect. Understanding of Valdorian technology gained during the quantum core incident. We've been reverse engineering concepts from that encounter. Can we weaponize this knowledge in 14 hours? Demanded the Chinese representative. Not conventionally, Dr. Takahashi replied. But we can deploy it unconventionally. What followed was the most remarkable mobilization in human history. While traditional military assets moved into defensive positions, a global network of scientists, engineers, and programmers worked frantically to implement what Dr. Takahashi called asymmetric technological responses. The Krylax fleet arrived 13 hours later, their massive ships darkening skies around the world as they took up strategic positions. Their communication, when it came, was not to negotiate but to announce terms of surrender. Primitive species, the Krylax Supreme Commander Vorak, announced on all broadcast frequencies, his reptilian features filling screens worldwide. Your world is claimed for the glory of the eternal Krylax dominion. Surrender and serve, or resist and perish. You have one planetary rotation to disarm and prepare for occupation. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Zex Troll watched from the bridge of the Valdorian flagship Stellar Wisdom. The Seventh Fleet had arrived minutes before the Krylax, positioning themselves between Earth and the invaders. Open a channel to Supreme Commander Vorak, Zex Troll ordered. When the Krylax commander's face appeared, his vertical pupils narrowed with recognition. Valdorians, your presence is noted but irrelevant. This primitive world lies beyond your protection sphere. The humans are under our diplomatic consideration, Admiral Zex Troll replied. We request you withdraw your forces. Vorak's scaled face twisted into what passed for amusement among his kind. Diplomatic consideration. These creatures haven't even unified their planet. They war among themselves like animals. Stand aside, or be destroyed with them. The transmission ended abruptly. Admiral Zex Troll turned to his tactical officer. Analysis of their capabilities. Their fleet outguns ours 3-1, the officer replied grimly. And they've deployed some form of quantum disruption field we've never encountered. Our primary weapons may be compromised. Sir, Communications Officer Tren interrupted. Incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command. Director Chen's face appeared on screen. Admiral, we appreciate your intervention, but we don't expect you to sacrifice your fleet for us. We have a plan. Director, the Krylax technology exceeds even our own in some respects. Whatever defenses you've prepared aren't what they're expecting. She finished for him. We request only that your fleet pulls back to lunar orbit within the next 30 minutes, and perhaps record what happens next. Your scientists might find it educational. As the deadline for surrender approached, the Krylax fleet began final preparations for assault. Their sensors detected the Valdorian retreat and registered it as confirmation of their superior position. What they failed to detect was the network of seemingly primitive satellites that Earth had launched over the past 12 hours. When the attack began, it did so not with conventional weapons, but with carefully calibrated pulses of energy that exploited a vulnerability humans had intuited from studying Valdorian systems. A quantum resonance effect that disrupted the Krylax shields without affecting their primary systems. Impossible. Commander Vorak raged as warnings flashed across his command console. Their technology can't penetrate our defenses. But the humans hadn't tried to match Krylax technology. They'd found its blind spot. With shields compromised, Earth's conventional weapons suddenly became viable threats. Missiles launched from ground installations and orbital platforms found their targets with devastating precision. The Krylax responded with overwhelming firepower, destroying many of Earth's defensive positions, but they failed to notice the true nature of humanity's strategy until it was too late. Small, autonomous drones, thousands of them, had attached themselves to Krylax vessels during the shield disruption. Now they activated, injecting tailored computer viruses into ship systems. Admiral Zextrol watched in astonishment as Krelax dreadnoughts began firing on each other, their navigation and targeting systems compromised. Others drifted powerless, their engine cores shut down by emergency protocols triggered by the viruses. They didn't try to match Krelax's firepower, observed Commander Nix Terra. They found the gap in their armor and struck precisely there. It's how they think, the Admiral replied. They don't try to overpower problems. They find creative ways around them. The battle raged for hours, with heavy losses on all sides. 3 Krelax dreadnoughts crashed into Earth's oceans. Millions of humans perished in targeted strikes against major cities. But the expected conquest never materialized. Faced with unexpected resistance and mounting losses, Supreme Commander Vorak ordered a retreat. The remaining Krelax vessels limped toward the system's edge, harried by both human counterattacks and the now advancing Valdorian fleet. In the aftermath, Admiral Zextrol stood in the ruins of what had once been Beijing, meeting with Director Chen and the Global Defense Council. Around them, humans picked through debris, already beginning to rebuild. The Krelax will return, he warned, and they won't underestimate you again. We'll be ready, Director Chen replied. This attack forced global cooperation like nothing in our history. The old divisions seem insignificant now. Perhaps this is why you developed differently than we expected, Admiral Zextrol mused. Your fractured nature, your competitive instincts, they've bred a resilience and adaptability that unified species often lack. Dr. Takahashi joined them, carrying what appeared to be salvaged components from a Krelax vessel. We're already learning from their technology. Next time, we'll have more than improvised defenses. 3 months later, Admiral Zextrol again stood before the Valdorian High Council. This time, Director Chen stood beside him, the first human to address the assembled leaders of the Federation. Humanity doesn't fit neatly into your categories, she acknowledged. We haven't achieved unified planetary governance in the way you define it. But the Krelax attack has created something new, a global coalition with common purpose. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's rapid adaptation of both Valdorian and salvaged Krelax technology. In mere months, humans had developed applications that neither species had considered. We don't ask for protection, Director Chen continued. We ask for partnership. The Krelax threat extends beyond Earth, and we believe our unconventional approach to problem-solving might benefit the broader galactic community. High Elder Rix studied the human carefully. Your species still has much to learn about galactic civilization. Undoubtedly, Chen agreed. And you have much to learn about humanity. After she departed, the council deliberated through the night. By morning, their decision was made. Humanity would be granted provisional status in the Federation, the first species to receive such recognition without meeting the traditional criteria. As Admiral Zextrol escorted Director Chen back to her shuttle, she handed him a small package. Coffee, she explained. Remember, I promised it the next time you knocked on our door. The Admiral accepted the gift, still not entirely understanding the reference but grasping its significance. The humans we expected to find never existed, he said, echoing his original report. The humans we found instead may change the galaxy in ways none of us can predict. Director Chen smiled. Count on it.